The Game is by far one of the most controversial artists of all time. This man thrives on beef more than anything, and it's kind of the reason people don't like him. See, The Game came into the music world many years ago. It was a time where he was selling hundreds and thousands of albums. But even back then, early 2000s, his career was thriving off promise. Back in 04, he had got discovered by Dr. Dre, and Dre was messing with bro so heavy, he introduced him to 50, and that was major. If you somehow don't know, 50 was like the biggest artist during that time. He was selling 1 million copies for his week. So for The Game to get put up under him, it's crazy. But they link up, they making his music, and it got to a point where 50 wanted to sign The Game, so he put him up under his G-Unit label. But that's a problem. That's a real big problem, because if you think of how 50 is as a person, he a living troll. That man will beef with anybody, and he was the same way back then. He was beefing with all these artists, and at first The Game was cool with it. He was like, all right, y'all beefing with all these people, I'm cool with it. Until it got to a point where it was people that he liked. See, it wasn't a problem for The Game until they started beefing with Fat Joe, Jadakiss, and Nas. And when The Game heard that, he had to cut ties with 50. He was like, look, I can't be beefing with these people that I really don't got no problems with. And when 50 heard that, he ended up kicking The Game from G-Unit. And from that moment forward, a war started. After he got kicked, 50 was doing an interview with Hot 97 where he was saying how he dropped The Game and all this. And right when 50 said that, guess what happens at the exact same radio station? It gets out of. The Game and his folks tried to run in there, but 50 and his crew, they shut that down. So they all get outside. It's a whole middle of the snow in New York. And not too long ago, for whatever reason, The Game got on an interview speaking about what happened that day. The crazy thing about it, I think it was one of the coldest days in New York in the last 50 years or something. The snow was up to my knees. We had on Converses. I don't know if anybody ever been to New York when it's snowing heavy, but Converse in the New York winter is the worst decision you can make. We was out there slipping and sliding. I remember we was hiding behind trash trucks. Back. It was just a whole outside Hot 97 that got us banned and changed the way Hot 97 do interviews to this day. I always go back and, think about the demises of Tupac and Biggie, and I feel like hip hop was real. I feel like if you had beef, it was only one way to sell it. At that point in time, it was just crazy, because now looking back at it, I don't know, I might have done things differently. But after all that went down, a diss track war started. They was just going back and forth dropping these diss tracks, right? But in 05, they came out kind of hitting at the fact that the beef did get dropped. They had a press conference with Dr. Dre, and they pretty much said that the beef was done. And soon after the press conference, G-Unit started trolling The Game, and the diss track war started right back up. And throughout time, so many different rappers ended up getting involved, and for years on years, they beefed and argued and trolled all the way up until 2016. See, around this time, The Game came out doing something nobody would really expect. After all the beef and all the disrespect, and even after 50 accused The Game of being a male stripper, The Game came out on stage and squashed the beef. But who knows if this beef will ever actually be done, because these is two people, like I said, that done shot bullets at each other. But there was even a point in time where The Game was stepping into politics, and politics are a strange area in the world, and today is really the time to understand all different viewpoints. Today is a time where you should want to understand the whole story, both sides. That's why I'm glad for today's sponsor, Ground News. They can help you actually understand things that have heavy political biases. This website can help you stay updated on all things from culture to music, and allows you to actually understand what's going on around you. For example, in North Dakota right now, they trying to decide whether 81 is too old to serve in Congress. And what Ground News allows you to do is see all these articles published on the topic, and it will show you how biased they are. And what's useful about it, you can go through each of these articles and read it and understand why they think how they do. Like one left-leaning article really focused on how being that old, you're gonna face some cognitive and age-related issues, while the right is just straight up against the idea. If you actually care about the truth and want to understand what's going on around you and don't want to be lied to, you should definitely be using Ground News. I highly recommend it. Go to groundnews.com/Prince with 2 E's right now and get 40% off the Vantage plan. It's the one I'm using right now, or you could try it for less than $1 a month. Before The Game, the early 2000s was full of beef that had The Game looking so goofy. One example, he was getting into it with Jay-Z over some real vague diss lyrics on his song West Side Story. He said, I don't do button-up shirts or drive Maybachs. And people was thinking he was dissing Jay, but he said it was going at Ja Rule. But fast forward some time, Jay was doing a freestyle and said some lines that had people thinking he was dissing The Game. And when The Game heard this, he started snapping. He was dissing Jay, Rockefeller, everybody surrounded with Jay. And for years on years, he would always throw these shots at Jay, would always be talking about Jay, just trying to get to him. But the worst part about it all, Jay would never respond. Never did he respond back to any of these shots at him. So to the world, the game was just looking goofy as hell. You gotta think about it. They see you dissing this man over and over and over and over. And what is he doing? Not responding. It was only one time in 2009 where Jay kind of responded, but it wasn't even direct.
I ain't talking about profit, I'm talking about pain. I'm talking about despair, I'm talking about shame. I ain't talking about gossip, I ain't talking about game. I ain't talking about Jimmy, I ain't talking about Dame.
And think about it, that clip is from 2009 and the game kept dissing him until 2012. But when Vlad got to questioning him about it some years back, he said this: I get real disrespectful when it comes to beefing. Jay took that all to heart, and I don't know if he's forgiven. At this point, it's been a long time. We both Sagittarius. We both great rappers. Obviously, for accolades wise and as far as his career being, he gonna be highly touted. But as far as skill set, Hov is not confused on what I can do. To this day, again, I never seen Jay since the 4040 Club back in the day. I ain't never done a song with Jay. We ain't never crossed paths. Maybe Rock Nation brunch. Maybe my invite gets lost in the email. But look, when I say the game was beefing with like every artist, I really do mean Meek Mill, 50 Cent, Stitches, even Young Thug. But him and Thug beef was real public. All the way back in 2015, they was getting into it. Thug was beefing with Lil Wayne, and if y'all remember, this is a case that they keep bringing up during the whole trial that he's facing right now. Young Thug beefing with Wayne, and the game decided to put himself in the middle of it. He felt like, Wayne my brother, so I'ma step for him if he get to beefing with anybody.
West side of this, anybody with you got a on me, I will that Thug up on power. West side.
Then when this clip got around to Thug, he spoke his mind, and after that, they were just going back and forth.
See, you used to be a Crip, now you're a Blood. So I don't want no smoke with you. You got Bloods and Crips on your team. And you was a male stripper once before, so I don't want to fight you. I don't want no germs on you. And you know I'm in LA more than Arnold Schwarzenegger. He the governor. Yeah. Yeah, gang, your little you got out on that one, little bitch. You got out, little hoe.
I just seen your little video, you hoe ass. You paint your nails like a girl. You call your bae, and you a hoe ass. Keep around, nigga. Drive by that nail shop and light that motherfucker up.
That wasn't all though. The beef started getting real deep. It went from them just arguing to Young Thug being weird, posting the game's daughter. And the thing is, a minute before this, Thug was beefing with Plies, and when Plies did the exact same thing to him, he was online screaming at his phone, not knowing how to act.
Everybody in the world to act this Plies to this. Take this video of my daughter off of his page, calling her out her name. It's gonna be a problem. That video ain't down today on Everything I Love Is Problems, bro. Whatever you want to be with. Oh, big guy. You sound like you a little frustrated man. Knowing damn well you was dead ass wrong. You said you don't disrespect a person, kid, but you called my daughter a bitch several times. Get the video down.
So for him to be doing the exact same thing he was mad at Plies for is kind of crazy. Fast forward some time though, the beef did kind of die down and they apologized to each other.
See, the way the world is set up, they want all blacks to kill each other, but we're not. Black lives matter. So I salute gang. I respect him. I'm sorry for making that post about him. You know, even though he was wrong and he was in the wrong business and taking up for themselves. It's all
a video and I think it take a real nigga to apologize and dead some shit. I think the next phase is getting him and buried, cause Tune my nigga, and then getting Tune and Birdman to settle they shit, get back to getting their money, you know? OG out.
And that was all good until some months later. Thug was out promoting the single, and in the middle of all this promotion, he seen the clip of the gang talking down on him.
You and Young Thug had a quick little back and
You see,
forth.
yeah, it was real quick.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, real quick. You know.
That was the quickest back and forth.
That?
I mean, you know, it gets real.
Game's crazy.
You know, and I went to Atlanta right after it started, and it got real.
So Thug seen that clip, he started snapping.
in my business trying to promote my little video that I got about to come out back for the song Power. And I go on a birthday club, being nose and see this gang capping the Charlemagne like you won't smoke, but you was not about that action. I'm uploading the video. The gang, why is you on what this thing called? Why is you on the vote the Breakfast Club trying you came to Atlanta, something got real? boy. I'm gonna upload a video since you call yourself tough. Got these folk capping.
But the problems ain't just stopping rap beefs. He was getting into it with the law a lot. I'm talking about he been getting into it with 12 since he been a rapper. All the way back in 05, he ain't been getting into problems. 2005, The Game and Snoop Dogg got sued for assaulting a fan on stage. A man claimed that their security was beating on him when he was trying to get on stage. Now, I don't know what he expected to happen while climbing on stage, but he swore that he had an open invite to come get on that stage. And the security was beating bro so bad, he ended up going unconscious. And that probably got you wondering, what did that have to do with 50 Cent in the game? They basically giving him the Nardo Wick treatment. Remember a couple months ago when Nardo Wick, quote unquote, security guard was beating on the little white dude? That's the same thing they did to them back then. So they security guards just beating bro, and they didn't do nothing. He claimed that they just let him get beat up. That's what he sued them on. But the arrest streak didn't slow down for the game. A few months later, October 2005, he got arrested again on disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. But what happened then was just so random. Mall security officer said the rapper was wearing a full face Halloween mask, filming shoppers, cursing loudly, and refused to leave when asked. Gang continued to act up and was arrested. A police statement said Gang claimed that the officers overreacted and did nothing wrong when he was pepper sprayed by the mall security. And that last little line probably something he still regret. And I say this because the case ended 7 years later in 2012. Remember what he said, right? He said they pepper sprayed me for no reason. Well, them officers turned around, used that against him, and sued him for defamation in 2012, and they got awarded $5 million in damages. But it was like the game was kind of living like Kodak. The game was addicted to going to jail. For years on years, he would go to jail at least 1 to 2 times every single year. That man would just end up getting arrested, losing who knows how much money, doing who knows how much damage to his career. Speaking of damage, someone who was probably in the background encouraging him to do most of this damage was his manager, Wack 100. If you somehow don't know who this is, this probably one of the most problematic men in the rap game. He won't fail to beef with somebody, or if he not beefing with somebody, he in the middle of the beef. So think about it. 2 niggas who love to beef with people right beside each other. But even past all that beef and all the problems he been getting into over the years, how is his music doing? The Game career has been on a steady decline, but you gotta give him credit. This a rapper that blew up in the early 2000s and is a name that is still in front of people today. The Game probably could come out and drop a hit if he matched up with the right artist, and a lot of other artists from the early 2000s could not do that today. So you do gotta give him his credit, even if he might be a corn. Yeah, the Game might have dropped some classic albums, but he ain't looked at the same way he was back then. And the state of the Game career really fell on him just putting himself in all these unnecessary situations and just being corny. Like, it's been so many times where he get to beefing with somebody just because he finna drop a project, or he getting to arguing with somebody just because he wanted to. And recently it's came out that he is basically at the lowest point in his career. 2022, he dropped his project Drillmatic Heart vs. Mind, and that sold 25,000 and came at a $150,000 loss. See, when that album first came out, it was a YoungBoy feature on it. But soon after the tape got dropped, the feature got took off. And when people got to questioning the Game, Wack 100, his manager, just came out and said, we could not afford that. He said YoungBoy normally charged $300,000 for a feature, but he was passing the Game a deal for $150,000, but that was still too high.
Why did Game take YoungBoy off his album when he's about to sign a
He didn't take
contract?
YoungBoy off his album. Understand this. I think Mace understands this. I know y'all, a lot of y'all look at me as a manager, but when you scroll down to the bottom of those albums, pay attention to what you read. You know, if you scroll down to the bottom of that album, you see Numinati 100 Entertainment. You know what that tells you? Tells you that, I don't know if you realize what 100 Entertainment is, but it tells you that that's Game and Wack's album. Game does the rapping, I do all the business. Sometimes when it comes down to a situation that I had to make an executive decision about, in YoungBoy's defense, YoungBoy charged $300,000 a verse. That's what he charged. That's what it is. I can't front. He gave us a hell of a deal, but that situation would have cut into marketing overall. So I had to make an executive decision on whether I wanted to pay the tab he sent me, which was a respectable, great tab. It was love. I came front, but that tab would have cut into that, and that. So
Yo,
now I
Wack,
gotta
tell
say,
them how
is
the
it?
300 is a deal for the people listening. That's like 300 is a deal.
Well, he gave me a deal for half that, Mace. So he only sent me a bill for 150, which was love. That's nephew, right? So 300 is his rate. But because what happens is with Young Boy, once you go to, he was gonna do that for the video and everything. So once you go to video on YouTube, he one of the highest streamed individuals on YouTube. You know what I mean? So you're gonna get your money back in the long run. Plus, now your artist is tapping into that fan base that he may not have. So nothing against Young Boy. Young Boy didn't disrespect us, didn't violate us. Him and Bro Fee cut their rate in half because it was me and Game. But when I looked at the overall budget, it was gonna cut into that, and that.
And on the topic of money, the game and money do not go together well at all. Some months ago, it came out that he owes $7 million to an SA accuser from many years ago. See, the game had got accused of being a weirdo. She said he allegedly at her while they was filming the show together. And XXL wrote this. The accuser said she had been led to believe that she was required to go on a date when the reality show wasn't being filmed. According to her, a date at an Illinois bar saw an intoxicated Game slide his hand up her dress to touch her. And in August of 2015, the accuser filed a $10 million lawsuit against the Game, claiming that she suffered physical, psychological, and emotional damages as a result of the. For his part, the Game denied the allegations from the beginning, claiming that the accuser was a prostitute and that she had spent time in a mental institution. Although TMZ reported the Game had lost the case back in February, the rapper had his lawyers file paperwork to have her history examined in court. And when it did eventually go to court, the judge took sides with the accuser and said a judgment of $7.13 million had been entered against the rapper, meaning that he had to pay that much. And that was from 2016. And in 2023, he had barely paid any of that. He still owed that woman $7 million. And she was making the claim that he was pulling all these loopholes. Every time he would start a business, he would go through all these loopholes just to not pay. Accuser accused the rapper of creating shell companies in an effort to avoid paying a $7 million judgment. According to the paperwork, the accuser and the Game manager, Wack 100, testified at the court hearing about the matter on December 13th, but the Game did not appear. Accuser alleges in her complaint that the Game stepped down as manager of JTT Holdings and transferred the company to Wack 100. The suit alleges that JTT Holdings transferred the deed to Wack exclusive. Therefore, it prevented the accuser from securing the Game's property so it could be used to pay off his judgment. During the trial, Wack denied any wrongdoing. He said that the payment was transferred to him as a debt owed by the Game. Additionally, the accuser stated that she had only received $500,000 out the whole $7 million that was owed to her. Then on top of all that, she had even hired a private investigator to help her get her money. How would this case go? Who knows? He got a lot going on in his life, from beefs to owing money to music problems. I do wonder how this all gonna unfold. It's always something with these rappers and money. Like what happened to Younger May. At the very start of her career, she was going to war with a club promoter over some show money. And it went from her getting threatened by the club promoter to all kind of life problems. And that vid is on screen right now.